It's the Mr. Bacon's Neighborhood Christmas Special on location at Gritty McDuff's with Blaine Bacon and Jerry Pinot.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the neighborhood, and today the neighborhood is in a special spot with a special person. And I know I've said this in the past. Special spot is here in Auburn at Gritty McDuff's. Yes, we are here, but we're in the coffee shop of Gritty's. And no, this is not coffee Kahlua. This is straight up coffee with an awful lot of cream in it.
No two lines.
No two lines. That's right. But I'm here with a great guy, and we've talked before. Back, it's been 4 years. Jerry, we were right in the middle of the pandemic, and we had to keep our social distance and all, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. But I wanted to catch up, and we have so much to talk about. But we've got a couple of messages that we really want to focus on here today. So let's first of all, Jerry, welcome back to the neighborhood. It is so good to see you, my friend. And being here in Auburn, the Lewiston-Auburn area, a lot has happened since we have chatted.
Yeah.
So let's play catch up here for just a couple minutes. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, honestly, the best thing that happened was I got married.
Amen.
The girlfriend I told you that probably didn't like me. Well, she probably still doesn't like me, but we got married. Jenny and I got married out here on the deck, actually.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, and the reason we did it was we wanted a small reception, and then we were actually going to get married up at Dan's and have a July 3rd into July 4th wedding because she's a moon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went and played victim and ruined all that. Yeah. So for our newlywed years, I decided to get sick and really put our relationship through the test. My family, my friends.
Sure.
It was probably the toughest 2 years of my life. Like I literally just a couple days ago announced that I'm finally all healed from that process with holes in me.
Sure.
And I'm now moving forward with the actual body healing, brain healing, which it's been a lot. And I've actually been back to work for 6 weeks, 6 months, excuse me. So, when you go to wound care 3 times a week as a firefighter, you're like, yeah, guys, I got to come in late or I got to leave early to go to wound care. I will say, though, the Band-Aid on my butt was heart-shaped, which I thought was kind of funny, and then my son decided through that time, he took a couple years, almost 2 years, a year and a half off after high school and decided what he finally wanted to do. And now he's up to Husson College and nailing it.
Very good. Wonderful.
My daughter, who I'll always be the first guy that loved her. We still have that relationship. She now high honors in high school.
Woo. Sweet.
Has a boyfriend, has a job, has goals, gonna go to college. And
wonderful.
So both my kids have significant others now, and my ex-wife and her husband and my wife were navigating the whole stepchild, step-parent.
Yep.
They couldn't have a better stepdad. They couldn't have a better mother.
That's awesome.
And I always joke and say I don't know who their dad is, but yeah. So all the positives, and there's been some negatives. Since we last talked, I actually did a message from Tops and Fire where I was their deputy chief.
You did? Yep.
Wonderful chapter in my professional career. Being able to be a part of a growing fire department and being able to be the one that made decisions and worked, understanding the administrative side, but also the floor side and pushing. And when I left, I always say that old proverb, did you leave it better than you left? I think I did.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I saw the fire chief there, that he and I worked very well together. He was a great guy, really cares about people, great family guy. And then I got to see people like me who were junior firefighters in their town are now full-time officers in the town they grew up in where they volunteered.
That's awesome.
And granted, it's not Jerry, you know,
Nope.
but I was part of a team to do that.
Sure.
We also, during that time period, responded here to Lewiston on one of their darker days.
Yeah.
And when my department responded, you know, as a deputy fire chief, you know, I came in with my crew. And of course, I've always loved the city of Lewiston.
Sure.
I'm from Jay, and it's just so weird. You know, like, how does a kid from Jay, 12 Pino Street, love the city of Lewiston so much?
Yeah.
And I came back and was with my crew, and, you know, we were very support, you know, Lewiston Fire, United Ambulance, Lewiston PD, Androscoggin Sheriff's Office. They were the real first responders.
Right.
And if there's anything I can ever do for any of them,
Yep.
and so many of them were there for me while I was battling my sickness.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, like, you know, everyone always says, you know, there was this bad stuff, and there was.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. I probably cried more in the last 2 years than I've ever cried. But I literally cried this morning. I don't even know why. But we'll talk about that another day,
There we
right?
go.
But, you know, so many of my friends have reached out and they go to doctors now and they advocate. So many of my friends have become firefighters, you know. I don't like to name drop, but Erin Squibb, you know, she's
Yep.
a firefighter, you know, like, I remember her telling me, I'll never wear fire gear. And,
I
you know?
remember her saying stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and
Absolutely.
you know who her captain is? It's Sean Cordwell, you know, down at Scarborough Fire. Like, and their chief's Rich Kinlan, and you know what I mean?
Oh,
and,
sure.
You know, it's like, and then and people are like, well, you know everybody. Well, no, we don't know everybody, but we all started together.
We started, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how was your 2
That is-
years? How's that?
That is.
How was your 4 years?
So, you know, a lot has happened, family dynamics wise, and you know, aside, along with having illness and injury in the family, you know, the family continues to grow. We've got a brand new 2-day-old granddaughter. She is I call it G7F2. So grandchild 7, female 2 is who we have. So
Always about a woman.
We've got 5 grandsons, and our first daughter had. Our second daughter had our first granddaughter, and she's 4 months old. And then our youngest son and his wife had their first child, little Ida Mae, and
That's
she
beautiful.
is 2 days old and is absolutely spectacular. Yeah, and we've got 2 more coming. We've got
Jesus
two
Christ.
more-
I'm gonna send
two
my
more
wife
girls.
to your house because literally my wife's all about grandbabies, and I'm like, whoa. Between
Oh, no.
her 4 kids and my 2 kids, they're still at the ages where they'd all handle it and we'd be fine.
Sure.
But I'm like, can we just take a year off, you know, and like, let's go to Aruba, the cruises.
There you go, that's
you know,
right.
Like, you know the Jerry. Like,
Sure.
I love gritties, don't get me wrong, but
So you know, family's growing. I'm also a full-time pastor now. I've taken a pastorate there in Solon, along with still being full-time at Delta Ambulance
Really?
on a
didn't
truck
realize.
on a truck 36 hours a week, and I'm the supply guy for the Waterville base. So I get 12
you
hours.
became Ricky Nason.
Became Ricky Nason. That's
That's
exactly.
pretty amazing.
Yep. So I'm off the truck. Only on the truck 1 night a week now. Praise the Lord. Thank you.
Only a few of the United will be like Ricky Nason.
Ricky.
The only supply guy, like I can't remember who said it to me one time, like the guy has squirrel holes in this city.
Squirrel holes, gopher holes.
You literally have the worst call ever. Nobody available. And all of a sudden Ricky's like, what do you need?
What, he'd come around
You
the-
just
come around the
drive
corner.
the
Bang.
ambulance.
There we go.
And he knew where everything was on the truck. I remember me and Lucia were out on Webster Street one time. We had like 4 Code 11s. They were all pediatric. And we all ended up in different ambulances. And Ricky jumped in. And I was like, oh, this is so amazing. And I remember, you know, a couple of Lewiston Fire guys were back there with me. And I'm like, one of you guys drive. and Ricky stay back here, and then no matter what I asked for, he threw it at me.
It was right there. Yep.
And it was. He still is just one of those guys where, that's why you don't need to, it's funny, we always talk about titles.
Sure.
There are people that are title driven, which is fine.
Yep.
But there are people in the world that prove to you it doesn't matter your title, it doesn't matter, you just
No.
It's your love, your heart, and Ricky just had love and heart. He just, and I see him once in a while driving around Lewiston, and he'll be like, "Hey, Jerry," and I'll get the text. And he just cares.
He does.
His heart, he wears it on his sleeve. And,
Yep.
I always say the worst thing that happened to BIW was the best thing that happened to United. When
Amen.
he got his knee hurt and he needed to, find a little work. And next thing you know, he could have ran a whole division of ambulances.
Right on.
Yeah, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter that he wasn't a licensed provider. What mattered was his heart and his ability to learn.
Yep. And he would absolutely give the shirt off.
I think it was like Bill Parcells. I mean, it was. He's a Giant. I'm a Giants fan. I know. I'm like a beat up, abused. But Bill Parcells said in an interview way back when I was a little kid, and they're like, how do you win with, the Giants? They'd score 17, 20 points and they'd win. And he goes, I don't want the flashy, running their mouth, athletic, it's all about me. He said, give me 11 guys with heart.
There we go. Right.
Right?
Yep.
And I, back then I was really into sports, but now I'm like, that's the same way I am now.
Sure.
Like, give me somebody who cares.
Yep.
And even, I even had somebody recently that I was working with, and, a lot of people were like, they're not going to make it.
Sure.
But times are tough now. We're getting a lot greener people in Maine than we're used to, because they're not spending 5 to 10 years on a call department.
No.
EMS or fire, then they show up and they're already trained, and then you just show them your way. So we're trying to, it's our fault in the essence of we need to change the way we do things. We're not getting those people because that's not the way it goes anymore.
Right.
And everyone, it's funny because everyone points a finger, well, this is why. No, what it is it's just different.
That's
how many times, back when me and you got into United full time, remember that? It was like, Jerry Pino got hired at United full time.
Yeah, sure.
And then and it was a big deal.
It was.
Every town's hiring full-time people.
That's right.
So, I remember I tell the story so frequently. When I graduated in 1995, there was a job in Auburn Fire, one posting. I was down at the academy and 100 people applied for it.
Sure.
But now that you can work in the town you grew up in.
Right.
And maybe someday the fire service and EMS service will figure out that, up there in the Harmony Mains of the world and all those places, we still need the call departments.
Sure.
But why don't we put a county fire truck up there with 4 people and a 75-foot ladder on it, and put 3 people in an ambulance to cover 4 or 5 towns, and then you have all the volunteers still there to help out.
Sure.
And then that way, because we all know during the day it's tough, but at least they have the resources. Because 4 people on a fire truck, we can do some stuff. And someone said to me one day, why do you want 3 people in an ambulance? I'm like, well, because that's the way it's supposed to be. You got 1 writing, 1 teching, 1 driving. And
so as we're sitting here, and I'm sure folks can see, we've got Christmas bulbs here on the table and Christmas lights, and you've seen pictures around here. Yeah, it's today. We got 3 days before Christmas, and
so I think I'd say this.
Yeah,
this is what I'm going to say. Regardless of your religion, because Christmas obviously started because of Christianity.
Sure.
And I want everyone to understand that in today's world, we all understand we celebrate many, many different comings and many different religions, and that's great. I think that's what makes this whole country the best. Is the way I look at Christmas, and Meme, I'm sorry, but I was raised Catholic, and I actually gave it up for Lent, but we won't talk about that. Joke. But truthfully, I look at Christmas, and everyone. And I had a waitress here one time. She was having the worst day, and I said to her, "What's going on?" I talked to her, and she's like, why are you so happy? Why you got your smile? I said, well, today's Christmas. She looked at me, it was like probably fucking July, you know, and she's like, well, why is it Christmas? I said, well, because it's today, and we're here, and we're having a day, and I like you, you like me, like, you know, we respect each other, and today's Christmas. I think the Christmas season, it's a shame, because everyone tips their waitress a little more, or opens the door a little longer, or I wish Christmas was what we celebrated, how we act all year.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, when me and my first wife got divorced, Steph is a wonderful mother. We have 2 amazing kids, and her family's a little bit smaller than mine. And so when they got together, they're such a great unit, you know, and they spend Christmas together. And when my parents got divorced, you know, you learn. So what you learn as a kid, you hope to make better in your kids.
Sure.
So when I got divorced, it wasn't that my parents did anything wrong, but I wasn't going to do the half-day Christmas thing. And when my kids were young, it was so nice that they could just go to Steph's family, have their Christmas, enjoy their toys. They weren't ripped apart. And I'd pick a shift up somewhere.
Sure.
Because I didn't want my kids to think at a young age, well, dad doesn't want to be here. No, I'm just at work.
Yep.
And I think it was funny because, like, you know, 20 years into it, my dad looks at me and he's like, you know, no matter where you work, Gerard, you seem to be on duty. Are you doing that? And he smiled like that. I finally got it. You're doing this on purpose. So I was like, yeah, you know. And it worked out well because now, even as the kids are older and they have their own thing, they understood it wasn't that I didn't want to be with them, and they had that day with their mother.
Yeah.
But when they were younger, I'd be like, all right, what day are we telling Santa Claus to come by my house so I can, and, you know, Allie was like, you can talk to Santa Claus? I'm like, I can do anything I want. I'm Jerry Pino, you know. And I'd say, well, yeah, he helps moms and dads that don't live together.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then as everybody gets older, you know, it's like I just sent my kids a message today. And, you know, I'm so proud of them. And Christmas has become... I get a couple I got them some gifts that mean something for me.
Sure.
And then I'm going to put a check and say, I hope you put most of it in your savings because that's what I can give you. And then I thank their mom and their stepdad for helping me and Jen, you know, through the last couple of years of being supportive. And then let me know when you want to get together. Because it doesn't matter if it's not Christmas.
Right.
And if anyone feels alone on Christmas, I actually... after everything I've been through, everyone's got plans, and Christmas this year has a different meaning for me because of my illness. I was diagnosed with cancer on December 23rd, 2022. So it's kind of, Christmas has kind of changed.
Sure.
It's a moment in my mind.
Yep.
And me and my wife have been separated due to cancer and due to everything we went through. And we're almost, you know, using counseling and working out with us. We're almost back together.
Yeah.
And she's going to be with her kids and seeing them. And then my kids are going to be with their mom like the old times. And then their significant others. And I'm going to pick up a shift at Freeport Fire for 24 hours.
There we go.
So I can stay busy.
Sure.
But everybody knows I love them.
Yeah.
But if anybody in our line of work, police, fire, EMS, communications, or nursing, needs anywhere to be, you can come hang out with me at the fire station in Freeport.
Yep.
We'll add another plate at the table, because you remember the first time we talked about tables?
I do remember that. I do remember.
Freeport's got a really nice new table from the first picture they sent us. It's beautiful. But we all have a table we can sit at.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like everywhere I go, there's a spot. You know, I was walking into Lewiston Fire today, Central, and they got a couple benches in the back of Central, and it's just like, you know, people for years and years have sat on those benches.
Sure.
And just talked.
Yep.
Or sat at their table, and it's, you recognize those places.
That's right.
You know, and
yes, you do.
Gritty's. You know, everybody watching this that knows Jerry's like, of course they're at Gritty's, you know, like they're like, of all the places. But literally, why did Jerry go to Gritty's? Well, Jerry was actually, it wasn't about alcohol.
No.
I needed a safe place, and I came here back in 2009. Had never been here, right? Walked in the door, and the manager at the time, named Andrea, and I still see her once in a while, and she looked at me and Mike Allen when we walked in here. They unlocked the door, and we walked in the door. I gave her my credit card and said, "Don't worry, this will work." And she was like, "Huh?" And for some reason, she said, "I trusted you." And when they closed the door that night at 1 a.m., me and Mikey left.
You and left.
Yeah, we had a cab pick us up, and we were having a struggle, and I knew if I hid here,
Sure.
what I was hiding from wouldn't come here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. It just, I needed to know where I could be safe. Safe
Sure.
place, right?
Yep.
South Park's got a great episode about your safe place. And everybody, my family's now like, of course they said South Park. But they equally make fun of everybody. That's why I like
right.
it. Yeah. That and Family Guy. They're
Yep.
like, they make fun of everybody equally.
Yep.
But I always came to Gritty's, and I've literally, one of the girls that I met that was just a server at the time is now the manager here, and we're in the Gritty's Grinds off the side of a pub
Sure.
that they trusted her to make this great coffee shop
Yep.
that's going to open soon. So you can go to Gritty's Grinds, or you can go bring your kids and have pizza during the day, and at night you can come have a cocktail and listen to music.
Sure.
So I've just always knew that if I came here, and the staff, I'm pretty sure I'm part of their in-service. Like if Jerry just comes here, just, smile, wink, wave, and he'll be fine. But it's my safe place. It's my table.
Sure. Well, so I'm a bit older than you are, but everybody's heard of Cheers. The show Cheers.
Yeah.
And the theme song. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
That's right.
And that's Gritty's here.
Yeah.
That's because it is a safe place. It's a place where the tables are big,
Yeah.
and you can have a group of people come around and can just talk about stuff around that table. And that, especially this time of year, it doesn't have to be Gritty's. Can be the firehouse.
Can be anywhere.
Can be anywhere. Can be at the duty station. Can be anywhere.
It could be in an ice shack with all your buddies up to Moosehead Lake.
That's right.
It can be with all your friends. One of the, you can go get pedicures. I'll never forget down in Westbrook, a bunch of the guys on the shift went and got pedicures, and they came back and they're like, "Wow, that's pretty amazing." But what we all need to realize is it doesn't matter if you want to go and do. I had friends that have gone to painting parties, wreath making parties.
Sure.
My friend Sally and Janelle today are down in Kennebunk doing a Christmas cocktail party. So they're teaching them how to make Christmas cocktails. Or you can go to a new firefighter that I met, kind of came under me, and he became a photographer, Julian Spears, and now he's in Falmouth full time.
Wow.
And Dan Maselli, he said to Dan, "What will make me great one day?" And Dan's like, "Get a hobby." And literally Julian was like, he's from Jamaica, it's great, right? He bought me the best bottle of rum from Jamaica. But he said to Dan, "Well, what should I get for a hobby? If I'm going to be a firefighter like you guys and an EMT," and he's now in advanced. And he goes, "I don't know, photography." And literally just threw it out there. And Julian went and bought cameras, and now he's one of the best. Like, he takes pictures. Yeah. They're amazing pictures.
Sure.
So that's the other thing we need to, teach from these tables is, I was talking to one of the guys I've had a lot of respect for over the years. Today I was talking to at Lewiston Fire. He's one of their captains. And he hunts and fishes. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "I spent 90 days in my bass boat."
Wow.
Why wouldn't you?
That's sure.
Right?
Yep.
But, people look at a guy in a fire truck and you're like, "Well, they don't see what EMS does." Well, that's not true.
Right.
They all get sent to the worst calls.
Sure.
And then we get to see the funny calls.
Yep.
I was telling somebody the other day, I'll never forget one night me and Aaron walked in, this guy was intoxicated, having a great day, and he's wrapped in a boa with a captain's hat, with a cowboy's hat on, naked. And you're like, "So what's up?" And he's like, "I need to go to the hospital." And you're like, "Okay." they don't. A lot of people don't get to see the lighter side of our job.
That's right.
You know,
yeah.
Or I had a lady call me one time. She threw her arm out down on Route 100 because she turned around to yell at her kids, and her arm popped out. And she's like, the kids are crying, she's crying, and I'm like, and I'll never forget when Lucian gave her the fentanyl. She went, I should do this more often. It was just hilarious. Those are the moments that we do see the lighter side.
That's right. And it's important that we remember those lighter sides.
Yeah.
Because it's the dark sides that take up so much space. It's those dark ghosts that hang on to. But that's our human nature, is to hang on to that stuff, and it has to be a conscious decision, a conscious effort to remember those. Okay, so that pediatric call was bad, but the naked guy in the boa, you can't make that stuff up. And
with a cowboy hat, how do you have a cowboy hat and a boa? You're just like. And he whipped it around, and I'm like, all right, let's go to the hospital. I got you. It's one of those things I'm very fortunate. I think I said this the first time we talked. I've worked for many departments, and I've never left anywhere on bad terms, or I've always left to better myself, or I wanted to do something different, or it was never bad. I've always left doors open.
Sure.
So I've always been invited back to places. Even in Westbrook, we always laughed. If you left Westbrook, they called you dead Jerry Pino because you left Westbrook. But I still get invited back. I mean, they might pretend, but they still like me a little bit, So, but I just got invited to the Scarborough Pine Point Call Company Christmas party.
Oh,
yeah, my good friend James Butler invited me. I was his +1 because Ashley, his girlfriend, was working late, and. When I worked down in Scarborough, of course, I met a lot of the Scarborough firefighters, and they still have a very active call company. Which in 2024, that's amazing.
Sure.
And I got to see Rob Carson. He is a legend in the fire service, and he came up to me and he's like, "I am all warm and giddy that you're here." I was like, "That's kind of awesome," because the cancer I had,
Sure.
But the cool part about, seeing all those guys and talking with them is that bond.
Yeah.
It was like, they were all like, how you doing? And it was like, we never stopped working together.
Right.
And that's the part about this job that I've always tried to tell everybody is brother and sisterhood is a sticker or a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Brother and sisterhood really comes in here.
That's right.
It's when, I'm going to be personal with you. It's when I found out you were sleeping in your car.
Yep.
And I said, no, you're going to stay with me and Daff, and you're going to sleep in a house, and we're going to get there together. And it's when I and my first wife separated, and I had to use my flip phone as lights, and somebody came in and went, no.
Yeah.
But that's brotherhood and sisterhood to me. We need. I had a guy call me, and when I was in Topsom, and he was like, my son's a firefighter in this town, and he said to call you guys. And I'm like, what do you need? And he's like, well, he's like, him and his wife didn't know who to call to get their shutters fixed and their screens put in. And so I called somebody and said, hey, go help this guy out.
Sure.
So Dan Munzie ran over there, and his son's a handyman, so we found him something to do. And then 2 months later, he called me. He's like, I'm really sorry. Thanks for helping us, but now my wife's stuck at the end of the driveway. We'll be right over. We pushed his car out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's real family. I have no idea who his son was. He told me what department. I don't care.
Right.
But real family.
Yeah.
I think I said this the last time we were together, because I say this all the time. Real family doesn't pick.
No.
We love each other. We don't want to see each other, but we love each other,
That is it.
And you're always there for each other.
Yep. And that's important, again, to apply that to to today, 3 days before Christmas. But today, globally, we see too many of our friends, too many of our brothers and sisters that have lost sight of the fact that they are part of a family, and they think that what they're going through, they're the only ones going through it, that they're all alone, and they're not. And it's we recently a great number of us came together because a dear friend couldn't see the fact that he was part of he lost the sight.
I'm going to say his name, Scott Latula.
Scott, yeah.
And I'm going to say Lieutenant Don Trafford from Westbrook.
Yep.
Both those men in my life made me better.
Sure.
They both made me a better dad. They both made me a better human. Donnie made me a better fireman, and Scott made me a better paramedic.
Sure. Yep.
Well, provider, because I wasn't a medic, but what breaks my heart I got told twice in the last couple of years that I should prepare for death because they didn't think it was going to be good.
Yeah.
And what breaks my heart is on that day when I thought I was going to lose everything, I'd have answered the phone if they called.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would have pretended nothing was going on in my life, and it would have been all about them.
That's right. Yep.
And I don't know, and none of us will know what turns you down that dark hole, because apparently once you get into that dark hole, there's no coming back. But I wish they'd have called.
Sure.
And the world is less.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone, when they leave, both of those two humans loved their families so much, the people they worked with so much, the people they took care of. And even though both of them in their own way tried not, Scott had his way. Sure. It's all business.
That's right.
And Donnie Trafford was the gruff guy, and I ain't got time for this. But, both of them cared so much.
Right.
That when you really got to know them, look on a whim who showed up for Scott.
Sure.
Look who showed up for Donnie.
That's right.
It wasn't like it was, Bronx Tale. Remember Bronx Tale? Do you remember that movie? So it's a little bit of a gangster movie. Okay. You should watch it.
All right.
And I won't ruin it, but I will. At the end, the guy that ran the block, the guy that did everything, the gangster, the one who did, at his funeral, he was alone. With all the flowers from everybody.
Yep.
And only one other person. And then one person came in after that. And if you watch the whole movie, you'll be like, perfect.
Yeah.
But at neither of those two's celebration of life were they couldn't get in.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what all of our brothers and sisters have to remember. We all have dark days.
Yeah.
And we all, what kind of upsets me a little bit nowadays is we got these brand new 18-year-old kids walking into a class, or a 45 or 30-year-old that wants to do a career change. Yeah. Now, some people are like, you're going to get PTSD and it's like, okay, guys, time out. Yeah, we got bad stuff, but can we not set them up like this? This is a great job. Yeah, we're going to have we do things that no human should do. Okay?
Yep.
I wish fire trucks' tires never turned. I wish police cars always just sat at the corner and their lights never had to go on. And I wish ambulances just got cleaned because there was nothing else to do.
Sure.
And dispatchers, all they needed was apps on their phone to play because the phone stayed silent.
Right.
Wouldn't that be an awesome world?
Yep.
But that's not the way it is.
It's not the way it is it?
It's not.
Nope.
One of the things is we have to understand that as a family, if we don't stay together, no offense to the 9-to-5 world, they think we're crazy. Right. They're absolutely right. But damn it, look at what we go through.
That's right.
And if we can't reach out and be together, and take care of each other,
That's right.
then that brother and sisterhood is just a t-shirt.
That's right.
And
That's right.
you know, look at some of the things like you do with the peer support and Lori Martell's here. I don't know, I bought her lunch like just a couple weeks ago. She showed up and she's like, "Hey, what am I?" I'm like, "I just bought you lunch." Because you're running around the state saving the world. Like, she's one of the only people. Was one of us.
Sure.
Got her psych stuff. Became a counselor. Now she's a doctor.
Right.
A doctor, and what does she do? She helps us.
She helps us.
So everybody that hears this, that woman should never have to pay for another meal. You know what I mean? Like, right?
That's right.
And it's not just about paying for it, but she does so much for people without money, without anything.
Right. Yeah.
Because she cares. She does what we do. Mr. Bacon's Neighborhood, why do you do it? You care.
Just because I care.
How many people in your family are having grandkids and this, and you're like, okay, we need to have a holiday thing and we need to reach out. Like, you care.
Yeah.
You guys are the ones that show and lead the light. And what we need to do is tell the younger people, yeah, it's okay to be different. I don't care if everybody I work with is different. I ain't gotta live with you. Well, I mean, for a while, most of us all live together at some point, but it's okay. I mean, it is. But, you know, be there for each other.
That's right. That's right. And that's what it's all about. And it's more than just being partners on a truck, or part of a crew on an engine, or, you know, you're the officer that's covering the next district over, and you happen to meet up at a common spot and have a cup of coffee or lunch or something like that. It's much more than that. And if it ends up being just that, but you have somebody to talk to, you know, that's okay too. As long as you've got somebody to talk with that can at least empathize with what you got going on.
It's because we can start in the middle.
That's right.
You know, we can start in the middle of the conversation because they understand what we're talking about with the jargon, what we've seen. You remember Beth St. Laurent over at Central Maine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I saw her and her husband Derek the other day. I don't know if they age, but Derek's a lieutenant now, a police officer, and Beth, she's still a nurse, but I guess she's per diem back in the ED.
Oh, wow.
It was so good to see him. Their kids are big, you know, everybody's big kids. Everyone's kids, you know, they're all going to take our places.
Sure.
And we were talking, I hadn't seen him, and I hadn't probably seen either of them in probably 6-7 years, you know. And we got talking, and all of a sudden Beth's like, "Hey, do you remember that kid?" And I'm like, "No." And so she talks about the story, and I completely forgot about it. But it sits with her every day.
Yep.
And then we got talking, and she's like, "I'm so sorry for telling you about it, but I literally think about that kid all day."
Wow.
And I said, "How old's your son behind you?" And she's like, she said his age, and I said, "Well, how old was he when that 10-year-old?" She goes, "Well, he was 8." And I go, "That's why."
Hey, there you go.
And I said to Mike Allen, I'm like, "Man, I forgot all." And he goes, "Jerry, I remember that call." You know, and I was like, I've forgotten about it. Like, it was a call that we really were out on the rails.
Yeah.
It wasn't a 911, you know, me and my partner put our life on the line. The responders that were there put their life on the line.
Yeah.
I saw Beth and the ER physician do things that they hadn't done yet. Mm-hmm. The physician had to get directions from a burn surgeon down in Portland. And it was snowing so hard, we had to do it at Central Maine. It was a phone. Yeah. I know the whole world's like a phone. I'm like, yeah, no, a phone with like the one, and it was on speaker. And they walked them through the procedure. Wow. And then me and Lou transported them to Maine Med. It took us like almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get to Portland. Yeah. So there again, Dan Maselli said the other day, he's like, we've learned to block things so we can move on.
That's right.
And we all have that call we know.
Sure.
And that one for Beth is in the front. Yep. Just like you have the ones in your front, and I have the ones in my front, you know? Yep. And I think that's why we all get it. Our calls are different, but when we get together, we can we're able to say, I get what you mean, start in the middle. Tell me about it.
Sure. And that's why we do what we do. So that's why Lori does what she does, and Rick Petrie does what he does.
Right, Rick, another one goes around and helps people.
You know, the teams, whether you're from Southern Maine or Northern Maine or Central Maine, doesn't make any difference where you're from. The stories are different, but the people are the same.
When I was on
and the struggles are the same.
When I was on a FEMA team in 2005, we were down in Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita response, and there was this kid from Arkansas, you know, a little short kid. He was talking to me, and he's like, "Man, Panu, you remind me of this guy," and I'm like, "You remind me of that," like all. Different color skins, different accents, different this. But guess what? We all have the same personalities. And I saw Blaine down there. I saw Dan down there. I saw Jerry. You know what I mean? Like, we're all the same.
Yep.
A little different. But, you know, I had a lady the other day was at my new job, and she's like, "I think I know you." And I was like, "No, we all look the same in a uniform." I don't think it was me.
Well, Jerry, we could sit and chat absolutely forever. Dan
was like, "You guys need to."
One last thing.
Sure.
You know, we've known each other for a long time, and I know your heart because I have seen it. I've worked with you. I've seen how you treat your patients, and beyond that, I see your heart for the responders, and we've talked about that today. One of the things that I have recognized as I have gotten older, as much as I fight it, I have to admit that I have gotten older, is that sometimes priorities have to change. And sometimes we have to move into a different chapter of our lives, whether we were planning it or not. And that's where I'm at right now, is needing to step back from some things so I can step up to the plate in other things. After Dan and I have been chatting for a long time, just trying to get together with you. And find a time. So we thought we would. Hey, you know, this is this great time for a Christmas special, but also a passing of the baton, if you will. As I step back from the neighborhood, a fair amount. Still see me popping up every now and then. But passing the baton to you, to carry on what we do around the neighborhood, and that is to bring, to not sugarcoat anything, to bring the problems of public safety, or anybody that steps into the potential path of somebody else's life to make a difference, to help those folks process through the stuff that they see, and to not. Yeah, you know, some people would be afraid to say the word suicide. We don't shy from that. Some people would be afraid to say the word cancer. We don't shy away from that. It is being frank, being honest, and being real. You know, some folks say, "Blaine, you say an awful lot," and I say that's because it's coming right off the top of my head. I don't have anything scripted here. I have an idea of what I want to say when I sit down and talk about stuff, but nothing is scripted because it's real life. And we don't have an opportunity. When the tones go off, yeah, we have our protocols, but we don't know what we're walking into. And we have to be able to think and react and deal with what we see just like that. And to be able to talk about that, Dan and I, before we approached you, we both were thinking about it, and we thought, you know, Jerry's a man. Jerry's a man for that, because he has a grip on reality, and he has a pulse, his finger on the pulse of what people go through, because you've been through it. And we don't just talk about what happens at work. We talk about what happens at home.
It's a big thing, you know, it affects our families. And, you know, so many of us, our families are, my wife, my current wife, when the shooting happened, we could hear the shots from Schmengi's at our house where I live. She had just come in from work, and I had just had my chemo pump disconnected that morning from when I had to do chemo twice. And so this was during my second period of rounds of chemo. And I just got home that morning. My friend Ben Butcher, you remember Ben? He had taken me down so they could disconnect.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They disconnected my chemo pump that morning, and I was supposed to be home resting. And when they tagged, you know, we knew what was going on quickly. And then when they put out my fire department, I called my lieutenant, Dana Connon, who was at the station, and my chief called Chris, and he said, he knew. He says, I'll meet you in the city. I'm on the way. And, you know, we sent 6 of us from Topsom with 2 ambulances to assist. And we went to a staging area. And I got up and I made sure my kids were safe. I knew where her kids were. I knew she was safe. And I said, go get my uniform, please, because my phone was already ringing.
Sure. And
I was doing stuff. I had 2 phones. I literally had to put on Facebook, please stop calling, I got to go to work, because I needed my phone so I could talk. And my town manager, who told me not to do anything while I was out, sent me a picture of the shooter in case he didn't know where we were going, so he even knew I was going to work. Like, there was no question.
Sure.
My wife admitted to me 2 days later, she's like, you know, I've been with you as a deputy chief. You've got up in the middle of meals, out of bed. You've stayed work late. You've gone to bad calls, never questioned it, always sat there. I had to step out of so many meals and answer the phone and take care of injuries at the fire station, people sick, nothing, you know, dramatic.
Sure.
Never bother. And then I'd gone into infrastructure fires, multiple PI accident, or when we had a cardiac arrest. I had a very small crew, so you always go in and support them. And she's like, I was mad at you. She's like, I needed you here in this house in Lewiston. We didn't know where he was going.
Yeah.
And I said to her, remember when I told you a piece of me dies every time I go in? And she'd always say, no, Jerry, your kids love you. And I always said my kids gave up more in their life. And the sacrifice, they should get my pension. They should get medals, not me. Because they literally supported me every time I stepped up and said, guys, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And they'd say, well, who else is gonna, right? They were always there, and they've always supported that. And I always told Jenny, I go, a piece of me dies every time. Because as a father and a husband and a family, you want to be there to protect your own.
That's right.
But they were safe.
Yeah.
Once they were safe, I got to go protect everybody else's. Just like all of us in that line of work.
Sure.
The dispatchers, the cops, the firefighters, and the EMS. Once our people are safe, we got to go.
Right.
Because there's no one else. And so 2 days later, she's like, it's so irrational that I'm mad at you. And I'm like, no, it's not. No. And she goes, no, really? And then we talked about it, and she goes, I now understand what you mean a piece of you dies. I said, baby, do you think I wanted to leave?
Sure.
No. I'm supposed to be here to protect you, even though she's from Buffalo, and I would be scared for anyone that got in between. You know what I mean? Like, sure. She'd probably do more damage on you than me, but that happens to all of us.
That's right.
Just like tonight, you're away and I'm away from people, so that we can talk to our family.
Our family here.
That's a little bit extended from our family.
Right. Yep.
So I'll accept under one condition.
Yes, sir.
And I don't usually do conditions. It will always be Mr. Bacon's neighborhood. And even if one day I pass the torch off, it will always stay Mr. Bacon's neighborhood. And he or she can make that choice to change it.
Sure.
But you started something. And the one thing I've learned in my life is when somebody starts something, You always remember them for it. And you always say thank you. And you tell the world who started that. Because the biggest thing that we don't do enough in life is when we learn, you know, like I always tell everybody, I'm the worst tool guy you have ever met on tool day at the fire station. And I had, well, he's a lieutenant now, but I had Lucas down in Westbrook, and now I got Noah over in Freeport, and Lieutenant Jocelyn and Noah Larrabee in Freeport. You know, he knows going to be a great fireman, great EMS provider, and Lucas. But the tools, they're amazing.
Yep.
I will make dinner, cook dishes, you know, and to Lucas, I'll put out the fire because you had to be on an ambulance, and he can tell that story another day, even though he's more of a fireman than I'll ever be. But we got to know our weaknesses.
Sure.
Build up the people that, you know, and then say thank you.
That's right.
So how many lives did you save, Blaine? How many people have you helped? We'll never know. And you know what the best part is you don't care.
Don't care.
So I'm only accepting this to keep that moving on, to keep guests coming in, to go meet people.
Yeah.
And so that it'll always be Mr. Bacon's neighborhood.
Well,
and you'll have to come back.
Oh, yeah.
And someday you're going to take it back over. Because when I retire, unless Kenny Chesney, and I say this again, Kenny Chesney, if you need a firefighter medic on that boat, I'm out.
You're done.
I am. But when I retire, I'm going to be on that island.
Well.
And I don't think the main world will like that. They'll be a little jelly.
Well, all right. Wonderful. Jerry, it is, I miss our chats. I'm glad we have had this chance to sit down and just reminisce, but also hopefully bring some hope to some folks that might be lacking that this time of year. So thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate what you're going to do with Dan as you guys move forward with just being able to reach out and help people. That's what it's about.
When I had my big wedding that I had to put off, I'll see you there.
All right. Very good. Folks, thank you for joining us here at Gritty's in Auburn, but with Jerry, with Dan behind the camera. I pray that this has maybe given somebody some hope, or at least the courage to reach out and to grab onto somebody. And if you know you need some help, or even if you're not sure, to just reach out to somebody, because we are a big family, and when we lose one person, it hurts the whole body of the family. So I pray that you have a blessed Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I look forward to what it is, Jerry, you and Dan are going to come up with, and I am going to
I did have a student that wanted me to do Jerry on Jerry, start with Sailor Jerry Sober and go, but we won't do that in Mr. Bacon's neighborhood. I'm just telling you, Jeff and Austin would be like, this is going to go sideways.
Oh, very good. All right. Well, thank you for joining us around the neighborhood, and we'll see you next time. God bless and make good decisions. Take care.
Have a good night.
A very special thank you to Blaine Bacon. We want to thank you for all of your dedication to this mission. You have been a part of over 50 videos. Your dedication has made a huge impact on the mental health of Maine's first responders.